Hello everybody, I'm Bill Moss and I just want to say welcome to Upfront. Today, my guest is Michael Fair. Michael is a local businessman, resident of Columbus for many, many years. Grew up in the city, as a matter of fact, and Mike has an issue that is very much on the minds of many people, not only here locally, but across the nation, as a matter of fact, particularly as a result of the recent airing and viewing of police brutality against some Mexican immigrants who were allegedly in the country illegally. And of course, when we talk about or hear about police misconduct, immediately the Rodney King incident comes to mind, and what happened in California a couple of weeks ago between the sheriff deputies and the people from Mexico was only a reminder of that. And of course, we've had some problems here in Columbus, and today our guest, Mike Fair, is here to talk about a problem that he experienced with the Columbus police. Mike, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Bill Moss. Thank you.
Tell us I've noticed that you've been in the news recently complaining about the fact that there was an incident that occurred between yourself and the Division of Columbus Police. Would you tell our viewers about that?
Well, this situation happened about a year ago in December. While I was waiting for my wife over at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, I was waiting in the parking lot of Toys R Us. And I acknowledged behind me there was a car behind me that just like pulled up for what reason I do not really know at this point, Bill.
Was it a marked car?
It was an unmarked car, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it at the time because I felt that maybe it was just someone just pulling up behind me, you know, no big deal. I grabbed up my newspaper and I started to look at it, and I just kind of glimpsed back there, and I noticed
you were sitting still.
Yeah, I was still sitting still, and I noticed that the car was still sitting there. At one point, it flashed its lights on, and then the next minute, it just sort of just like, you know, it was like someone was just sitting there watching me. So I acknowledged that it was getting really close to the time to pick up my wife, so I pulled around to the front of the Bureau, and at that time, the car pulled around the front of the Bureau following me. I was parked beside her car because, you know, it was late at night and she got off, you know, pretty late, and I didn't want her to get out there and, you know, just be out there by herself dark and no one be able to see her. So I just pulled to the front of the Bureau there, and I sat there as she came out, and I took her back to the car. The same car followed us back around to where her car was. I got her out of my car, I'm sorry, and into her car. Then I noticed that the car was just sort of like just sitting very, very close to her car. So I told my wife, I said, just get in your car, follow me. And at that time, the vehicle got bumper to bumper with my wife. So I really knew that there was something wrong there.
When you say bumper to bumper, did they actually bump her car?
No, they were so close to her car that you could almost say
this was following her?
Oh, I would say very much, Mr. Moss. And at the time, we, you know, because you just mentioned about the Rodney King incident where people have got beaten in the dark, where we were parked at is at 2246 South Hamilton Road, and it's very dark over there. And the same vehicle parked right in front of me, across from me, with its lights on.
Could you, by this time, could you see the people who were occupying that vehicle?
No, I could not. I could not.
So you don't know whether they were male or female, whether they were uniformed police officers or not?
Well, that didn't really matter to me because I was worried about that. No, sir, because my biggest thing was the safety of my wife and myself.
All right. So then what happened?
So I jumped into the car. At that time, I told her, I said, you know, get into, matter of fact, I got into her vehicle. I left my company vehicle there. And at that time, well, because, Bill, I felt that I better get in her car because I didn't want her to drive by herself.
Okay, you didn't know who these people were?
I did not know.
Okay.
I did not know.
Okay.
So at that time, I was sort of like just as jumpy as I am today because I did not know what was going on. And so once I got into the car, I acknowledged that there's something wrong. They followed us. Matter of fact, they followed us through the driveway there, over there by where my business was. And then I sort of got a thought. I said, look, let's get over here into this Sunoco on Hamilton and Groves Road, because that way I can see what's going on. You know, if someone's going to jump on, at least it'll be in the light. That way someone would absolutely see what's going on. So I pulled in there, and that's when all the fireworks sort of
What
broke
kind of
out.
fireworks?
Well, first of all,
What happened?
I walked out of. Matter of fact, I got out of my wife's
So you parked
car.
your vehicle on the lot there at the Sunoco station.
Yes, sir.
On Hamilton and Groves.
Yes, sir.
And then what happened out of the vehicle that was following you?
Well, the fireworks began from that point, because the officers came out with their pistols saying, get against the vehicle
They
there.
had drawn pistols?
Yes, they had drawn pistols, and they said that, you know, we know who you are, you're Mike Fair. And I said, you got the wrong man. And I put my hands on the car there. And so next thing you know it, the guy runs up behind me and starts frisking me and shaking me down. And I said, I reached to get my wallet. And I said, my wallet is right here. I pointed to it. And he said, he smacked my hand down. He says, don't reach in there. I said, okay, sir. And he snatched my wallet out, started looking into my ID. At that time, you know, I was sort of still wondering, why are they doing all this to me, you know? But after they did all this, they stuffed me into the car, and they started to check me out.
What do you mean they stuffed you into the car?
Well,
did they pull you, or did they tell you to get into the car?
No, they more or less opened up the door and pushed me into the car. It wasn't like a welcome type situation. It was more or less like, Mike Fair, we know who you are. We got outstanding warrants for your arrest. Shoved me into the car. Then the harassment started on my wife. This officer walked over to my wife, a black officer.
She was in the car?
Well, she was in the car for a moment. And then once I was stuffed into the car, she came out of her car. And she sort of was standing there with her foot on the car, and she asked the one black officer that came over to the car, what did my husband do? And the officer mentioned to her, the black officer mentioned to her, shut up, I'll do what I want to do to you. And she just like was kind of you know, she was kind of, I could kind of hear what was being said, and I was like devastated, because there was an officer on the side of me that said, Mike, I'll go over and talk to him.
What prompted him to say to her, I'll do to him and to you what I want to do? What did she say?
Because she just simply just said, you know, what did Mike do wrong? He said, shut up, I'll do what I want to do to you. To either, matter of fact, period, that meant to the both of us, maybe.
Wait, that meant, or did he say that?
That's what he said. He said,
what did he say?
He said, I'll do what I want to do to you.
Okay, and then what happened?
And
what
then
did
he
wife
started,
do at that point?
Then he started to try to put his hands on her like he was trying to arrest her, because she tried to get away from him. And the reason why she was trying to get away from him, because he was trying to put her in a handcuff move, because she just asked her a question. He just asked her a question.
Are you saying that when she got out of her car and asked the question, what did my husband do, he then, what did he do? Did he go and try to put her under arrest?
Yes,
or?
just for simply saying what she said. Just like I just told you.
He said, shut up, I'll do what
I want to do.
I want to do to you or to him.
That, period.
And then at what point did he reach for her to put her under arrest? Did he say to her that you're under arrest?
It happened, he never said that. He just automatically...
What did he do?
He just automatically started putting her hands behind her, like he was trying to arrest her.
Did he have to go to her to get her physically, or was she up close to him that he could just...
He was very close to her. He was leaning over top of my wife.
And where was she at this point? Where was she in relative to where your car was? The car where you were sitting inside?
In front of us.
Okay.
In front of us.
Okay, and he reached and got her then?
Right, right.
And did what?
Well, he reached and got her.
Did he turn her around? Did he turn her arms around behind her?
Sure did. Turned her arms behind her and tried to get her in a handcuff move, and she said, get off of me, get off of me. At that point, the other officer that heard it, and we both looked at each other, and he said, let me go over here and talk to him. from that point, he cooled down, because after the officer went over and talked to my wife and said, you know, we're still checking out Mike, and calmed the other officer down, then that's when he stopped for a second. But it started back again once the officer walked away. And I was sitting in the cruiser there, and it just seemed like, you know, some things I could not hear.
Were you in handcuffs?
No, I wasn't in handcuffs at all.
They had stuffed you in the car, but they had not handcuffed you.
Had not handcuffed me. But they continued to check me out, and they found out that I wasn't that person. After they did that, they let me out of the car.
What did they say when they let you out? When they found out that you weren't the Mike Fair that they thought you were?
They told me, they said, well, you want to listen and hear the call that you're not that person? And that call never came.
But what did the officer say to you?
He just said that, you know, he just let me out of the car. He let me out of the car because I was
okay. Now what about your wife now, and this other officer who has her in some kind of
lockhold or whatever?
Well, did he have her in a lockhold? Did he have handcuffs on her?
Well, he tried to put her in a handcuff.
He was not able to put them on her? Was she struggling with it?
She was struggling just to get away from him, because she just asked him a plain question, Bill. The bottom line is that she was just asking a plain question, and she was subject to this type of physical abuse. And I felt, sir?
And he was trying to handcuff her?
Yes, sir.
But he was unable to handcuff her. But he did not say to her, you're under arrest?
No.
At any point?
No, sir.
Okay, so now when the officer let you out of the car, then what happened?
Well, he more or less, they all more or less laughed, because they were like, well, you know, things happen.
How many officers were there?
There were about 3 officers there. 2 officers came out in the plain car, and there was a
Those are the ones who followed you?
Right.
And then there was a squad car that came on the scene as a result of a call that went
That's right.
Okay, and so a total of 3 officers.
3 officers.
Including the 2 who were in plain clothes.
That's right, sir.
And they laughed when they let you out
Right,
of the
they
car?
laughed because they said, you know...
But what was happening with your wife and this other officer at the time when they were laughing and she was still struggling with the officer?
No, that stopped after I got out of the vehicle.
Okay, and then what happened? What'd you do?
I walked up to the officer and I asked him for his badge number. He would not give me his badge number. The black officer that put his hands on my wife did not give me his badge number. He more or less laughed and just, you know, acted as though he didn't.
So
he tried to ignore me.
Were you released at this point to leave the scene?
Right.
Okay, then what'd you do?
I more or less walked back to my office, and my wife drove away, and that was it.
Okay. Your wife drove away to go home. And did you go back at any point to get your vehicle from?
No, I just went to my office.
Of Motor Vehicle?
Just went to my office. Went to my office from that point.
So now, have you lodged an official complaint with the Columbus Division of Police?
Yes, I went down there and I filed a report with the Columbus Police.
How long after the incident happened did you do this?
Well, it was probably a couple days or so after. Because, I mean, after going through something like this, Bill, it takes a lot out of you.
Sure. Were there any witnesses to this?
Yes, there was some witnesses there, but they were not in our behalf because they were what they call sort of like ghost people that we never seen.
How many witnesses were there that you observed? How many people were on the scene other than police officers that you saw?
I saw none.
You saw nobody?
I saw no witnesses.
Did you see an attendant to the service station where you were parked?
Yeah, there was some attendants there, but they were inside. They could not hear anything that was going on the outside.
You didn't see any of them on the outside?
None on the outside.
None of them within a close proximity to know what was going on with you?
No. No.
How many were inside from your observation?
From what I could see, maybe 2.
Maybe 2
maybe
or
2? I'd say 2.
You saw two men or women?
I saw 2 guys.
2 guys inside the service station. They never came out during
Never came out.
altercation?
Never.
So now, as a result of your complaining to the Division of Police, what has happened?
Well, first of all, I went down to City Council after I filed that report that we just talked about with the Columbus Police, and I tried to speak out.
Did you get a response from the police?
No, not really, not too much, other than they came out to give me what they call inside investigation, which they had a sergeant come out, and he interviewed me and my wife at my home. But some of the wording in which that they came out with, as far as what we said and what really truly happened, are two different insights. And I feel that, you know, they either read in what they wanted to read in, or something to that effect, because some of the wording doesn't even sound like us, even in the report. I mean, it's a whole lot different. It's a whole different situation than what we had talked about.
So you said did you take this to City Council?
Yeah, I went down to City Council, but I was a little bit emotional at the time, and it was still kind of in my heart there. I couldn't hardly really speak out like I really wanted to, Bill, because there was just it was just a lot of emotions going on.
What'd you do? Address the City Council during a meeting?
Yeah, I tried to, and
you were unable to get out the story as
like I really wanted to. And I just told maybe bits and pieces of it, and then they said that this guy, Mr. Rice, was supposed to...
That's the safety director.
Safety director was supposed to get back to me, but he had a lieutenant call me in the middle of the night, and that was it.
What'd the lieutenant call you about?
Oh, he just asked me what happened. I told him what has happened.
At what point did this take place? How long after the incident in December did it get to the point that police lieutenant called you as a result of Director Rice's involvement?
Oh, it's been almost a year and a half.
I mean, but it's been a year and a half since the police lieutenant called you?
No, this has been maybe a couple months ago.
Oh, so now this incident occurred in December of 1994?
Yes, sir.
And it was 2 months ago, 1996, that you heard from a police lieutenant?
That's right.
Why do you think, after more than a year, you heard from a lieutenant in the Division of Police on this same incident?
Because I went down to the council, and I was trying to explain my side of the story, and then they called themselves going to have someone to investigate it by having him call me. I don't understand that, but I mean, he never really said very much, but what happened.
What he asked me
what happened again,
and you told the same story.
No, I really didn't tell him very much, because I've already went over it and hashed it. So I'm sure they have the reports and have what I've said.
You've written down all of these allegations?
Oh, yes.
And what other action have you taken? Have you made any legal moves at all?
Well, another thing I've done is I talked to Police Officers for Equal Rights, and what I did was I filed a affidavit with them, with the Justice Department, and hoping that some type of fairness will come through from that, because I just feel that the police department is not going to be fair enough.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike. Do you know of any of the charges? As a matter of fact, let's put it this way. Do you know that there was, in fact, another Mike Fair that they were looking for who had charges against him?
I really don't know anything about another Mike Fair.
You never checked into that?
I had someone check into my record and check me out as far as, about this topic, but no Mike, not me, but someone else out there, another Mike Fair, but not me.
Do you know of another Mike Fair in the...
No, I don't.
Did they ever explain to you what the charges were that you were suspected of?
They said that I had robbed some banks and various things. I mean, just make up things. I mean, I did not. Matter of fact, I even asked them, I said, show me a picture of this Mike Fair, and they could not show me a picture. If you have an outstanding warrant for me, it seemed like to me that you'd have a picture.
Have you ever had problems with police?
Never had any problems. Never had any problems.
So now, what's the next step? What do you expect to happen? What are you going to do next?
Well, first of all, I'd like to just encourage other people out there that have problems with the police to file a report with the police department, and if you're not satisfied there, go and file still with Police Officers for Equal Rights, because I feel that way you can get a fair investigation.
You don't feel that you've gotten a fair investigation?
Oh no, Bill. I don't think that you, here in Columbus, Ohio, with all the rash things that are happening to a lot of black folks and white folks around the city, you're not going to get a fair shake here. I mean, the police department has shown that.
So, Mike, did you ever make contact with anyone from the legal community? Do you?
Yeah, I talked to some attorneys, but they never got back to me. They always told me, they said, Mike, I'm gonna look at your case. I'll get back to you. I'm not gonna leave you high and dry. And what they did was they more or less did just like anybody else out there. They just left me out to swim, you know. And if I got back to land, then it's on you, you know. Bottom line is that they left me high and dry, and when I asked them about what they thought about it, they never could put their finger on what they could do to help me or not help me. So I'm just high and dry right now.
What do you interpret that to mean? Because it seems to me that if you have or had a legitimate complaint and your rights were violated, as you obviously feel they were, you do feel that your rights were violated.
Yes.
And what about your wife? Does she feel the same way?
Oh, she's devastated by it, because it's something that we talk about just about all the time.
Now, when you've approached attorneys, have you gone with the idea to say, look, here's what I want to do. I want to file a suit against the City of Columbus Division of Police, or have you said to them, these are the facts as I recall them, and I want you to determine whether you think I have a case worthy of pursuing? What's been your approach? Do you go to them and say, I want to retain you as my lawyer, and I want you to follow this and file a suit on my behalf, or how do you approach it?
Well, I never really got to that point, because after they read my report, I more or less had to call this individual back, call this individual back, and call this individual back. And the response was...
So you've only dealt with one lawyer?
Well, there was another lawyer. There's two lawyers that I dealt with. The first lawyer said that he was too busy, and that he has so many cases, and
so he was unwilling to take your case.
Right.
And then the next lawyer.
Right, and then the next lawyer was more or less like, I'll get back in touch with you, Mike Fair. You know, when was that supposed to be?
And they never did?
Never did.
What do you want to happen?
I would just like this. I would like more so that the Justice Department look into this, and whatever their findings to be, I would stick with that. Because right now,
you mean at the federal level?
The federal level. Whatever the Justice Department decides that needs to be done, I would go with that, because...
Have you made a complaint to the Attorney General Janet Reno's office?
No, I haven't done that. But that's a thought. That's a thought.
Oh, you're saying then that you would like for the Justice Department to look into it, but you haven't approached the Justice Department to look into it?
I filed a report. Filed a report.
Who'd you file the report with?
With Police Officers for Equal Rights.
Okay, so
I'm just waiting for those findings. They'll get back to me.
So now, are you saying then that the Police Officers for Equal Rights, are they investigating this incident?
Oh, definitely.
Also? They are? Have you had any contact with them since you first
yes,
talked with them?
I've talked to James Moss daily. And he's more or less just waiting for those findings to come back. Also, he's looking into some other things.
Are you saying then that he has some of his people investigating, and he's waiting for the results of their investigation? What's happening with the case?
Let me just say this, though. I cannot really state that, because I'll just say that he filed a report with the Justice Department, and on
this specific case, on your case?
Yes, and a matter of fact, he also said in one article in the Columbus Dispatch that this officer did disrespect my wife and did put his hands on her, and that he feels that any officer that does that type of treatment to any citizen should be either fired, suspended, or something done because you have you have law-abiding citizens out there that are just being disrespected for just no.
He made the statement that the officer did put his hands on your wife and he disrespected her based on what you said, or was he saying as a matter of fact that
he thinks that
was this opinion, or was this a result of his investigation? Yeah, because he was not a witness to it.
Right. But this is his opinion.
Okay. So now they're conducting an investigation.
Yes, sir.
And you're waiting to hear the results of their investigation.
Yes, sir.
And they have filed a complaint with the Justice Department, the Federal Justice Department. And from that, you're expecting a response.
I'm hoping that they come back with a great response to what has happened here in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, so now, based on what you feel happened to you, and you indicate that you think others are experiencing these difficulties also, problems with the police, what do you want to see happen in Columbus, Ohio, with regards to citizens and the Columbus Police?
I'd like to see more citizens step to the bat and say, no, we're not going to accept this type of mistreatment, and that we all must, step to the bat and file a report. File it with the police department again, file it with the Police Officers for Equal Rights, and speak out, because I feel that the more that you speak out, the better. And I think that that may decide a lot of things that are going on here in Columbus, because there's a lot of people that are afraid to speak out. When they are mistreated, they just more or less go home and forget about it. They say, I got a ticket, or I did this, or I did that. When I feel that whatever they've done was not justified. If you feel that whatever was done was not justified, then I think you still should speak out, and that's my bottom line about that. Speak out about the things that
how are you doing since all of this took place? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just more or less, it's a thing that I take day by day.
How's your wife doing?
Oh, she's fine. She's happy.
Back to normal?
Me. Yeah, she's happy for me speaking out, and she's with me on this, and she feels strongly that, I'm sure if Tammy was here today, she would more or less have a little more to say than I probably would. But I'd just like to say that I feel good in speaking out, because it's just a gut feeling that, and from what I saw and the way that we were treated, I would not want to see any citizen be treated like this.
Well, there you have it. Our guest today was Mike Fair. Mike Fair has explained what he believes is a problem that he and his wife experienced with the Division of Police. And his suggestion is that if there are others of you who feel that you've been unjustly put upon by the Division of Police, then you should step forward also. Keeping in mind that this is Michael's side of the story, and we're always open to hear the other side. We do need police, you'll agree to that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, and we
There's
certainly
some good cops out there.
There are some good police officers out there, and I would venture to say that most are. I want to say thanks so much for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to the next time when we'll be up front with Bill Moss.